Good afternoon, Coronado, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Coronado Rotary Club. We have a full capacity lunch today. I think we have 91 in attendance. We will lead off with Paul Ledline and the Invocation Pledge.
Thank you, President Bob, and good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. This year, and next month, actually, the coming month, is the 30th anniversary of Nelson Mandela's election as the first black president of South Africa. Wow. Mandela's life is remembered as a remarkable example of courage, sacrifice, and devotion, and it would do us well, I think, to hold him in our thoughts and prayers for a moment. He once said, "What counts in life isn't the mere fact that we've lived. It's the difference we've made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." Service to others, he believed, does not consist of a series of individual actions, but rather ongoing service embraced as a lifelong personal and cultural norm. That call is also central to our own Rotary vision statement, which is, "Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our community, and in ourselves." So let us each pray in our own way for the strength and guidance to live out that vision of our world.
All right, join me in the pledge.
What's behind there? Oops. There it is, over there.
There it is. You see it?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good call, Barb.
Thank you, Paul. And now, visiting Rotarians and guests with our favorite past president and new grandfather, Dan Orr.
All right, we had no visiting Rotarians sign in, so if you are a visiting Rotarian, stick your hand up. Okay, guests of Rotarians, my left, your right.
Well, I'll jump in with my guests who happen to be on that side. I'm delighted to have Vice Admiral Jim Zortman as my guest, Commander Beth Teach, she's not related to Blackbeard, and Ms. Jeannie Groenfeld. Thank you.
I'll come over here with my special guest, Julie Gallagher, who this is her second time attending. Look forward to moving her forward in the membership process. I'm happy to go ahead and join us.
I'd like to introduce my friend Alan Coronado from Seattle, originally New York, but he's now a resident of Coronado.
President Bob and fellow Rotarians, my wonderful wife Barbara.
President Bob, fellow Rotarians, please welcome back for the many time my lovely wife Holly.
President Bob, oh, hey there, volume works. Fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure to introduce my guest, one of my longest, oldest friends, Teven the Admiral McManus. That's an inside joke at our table.
Brother Zortman and I were on a Tiger cruise together in 1989. Now, I'd like to introduce my first granddaughter, Parker Jane Rice, and I have 16 cigars left. So if you smoke cigars, see me after this, I'll give you a cigar and we'll celebrate.
Congratulations on that new addition to the family, Past President Dan. All right, let's see. I would have had some red badgers, but I didn't get the card. Maybe I'll get it before we adjourn today. Instead, let's go into announcements. Okay, what's coming up? We're going to have an exciting alternate meeting tomorrow, March 28th on Thursday. And if you haven't seen Paul Ledline's Antarctic story before, you got to come see this. It is quite the presentation.
But this is new and different too.
What's that?
Paul, you talk about it. It's new and different. It's not the
It's
same.
it's updated, yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be great. Antarctica is an unbelievable story, no matter how many times it's been changed up by Paul Ledline, who's also going to be there for the beach cleanup the next day on Saturday. Actually, that's on April 13th, not the next day. So, do you want to talk Rotarians at work?
Yes, please.
Rainier.
Thank you, President Bob. Okay, so next month, on Saturday, April 27th, it's always on the last Saturday of April, we have our annual Rotarians at Work event. This is a 4-hour time commitment. We basically go around town, we beautify the grounds, and we have a lot of fun. This is one of our most fun events. All the volunteers who come out are given a delicious lunch. We have a couple locations this year. We have Sample Squall Academy, YMCA Camp Surf, and the Coronado schools. And I put out some sign-up sheets on every single table, and you'll notice some very astute people have pointed out that I messed up. I did not put Sample Squall Academy on the list. It's only on the first page, but it's not showing up on the other pages. So if you want to go to Sample Squall Academy, just write your name down and scribble Sample Squall, and it will note that. So thank you very much for everybody who pointed that out to me multiple times.
Don't feel bad, Rainier. You're not the only one in the last 24 hours that screwed up something with Debbie. So we'll keep that one in our back pocket for a little bit longer here. Anyway, okay, next slide, please. I wanted to talk to you all about what we're doing. Of course, you know Jamie's leaving, and so we have a robust effort to find the right person to replace her. We're going to put the position available in the Eagle here starting on the 3rd of April, and look for additional returns on that. And then on the 15th, we're going to start interviews and working diligently to find the right person to fill that spot. If you know anybody, or you'd like to do it yourself, and we've had a couple really great applications so far, please get in touch with me or any of the other board members at the bottom of this slide, and you can send the application to this address, and that's on our website if you don't write it down quickly. Okay, next slide. We are still in the apparel business. We've got a lot of new stuff there, and we are, I think, still doing a clearance sale on stuff from last year, so pay attention to that when it's available out. I don't think we have it today, but it's available. Next slide. Father Joe's on the 17th. It's an early go, but it's worth going. If you haven't done this before, please talk to Bob and Mary Griffin, or Mary Griffin, and thanks to them for heading this up again. Next slide. Another paid political announcement. If you have anybody that you think who is not a Rotarian, but you know them in the community and they exemplify our motto of service above self, please share that with us. Talk to Daniel Stewart and make a nomination. Next slide. Okay, we have sort of teamed up with Emerald Keepers, and we do live in Southern California where there's a lot of citrus on trees, and a lot of it goes to waste. And so here's an opportunity to collect it with the help of the interns from Coronado High School, who are part of the Emerald Keepers family, and they'll come pick it for you. Now, what could be better than that? You don't even have to do it yourself. They'll pick it, and we have Rotarians delivering it to the food bank. All right, next slide. Okay, mark your calendars. This is a fun event, and if you've never done it before, talk to someone who has. The district governor's dinner is a blast. It's there at Del Mar Hilton, 5 to 8:30 on Monday. It is on a Monday, June 24th. Okay, around town real quick. A bittersweet weekend, and we all know we had over 80 Rotarians attend Jerry Winter's celebration of life. It was such a positive event. If you didn't get a chance to go to it, talk to someone who did, and they'll just tell you what a wonderful tribute it was to a great human being and a great Rotarian. And they had a lot of nice artifacts there. Remind us of Jerry, including his green jacket. Next slide. There we go. Okay. Well, I'll turn it over to John Duncan, who's been chomping at the bit to talk about his favorite subject. No, not low tide riding stride.
Thank you for the roast, President Bob. Good afternoon, President Bob, Rotarians, and guests. I wanted to give you a little update on the low tide ride and stride, as you can tell from my beautiful attire I'm wearing. It is going to be Sunday, June 23rd, which is the best tide day on a weekend for a 6-month period. So that is why we are having it on a Sunday. It was a little challenging to get a real low tide, but we're looking forward to it. I wanted to invite anybody who's new to Rotary, who hasn't served on the subcommittee before, to please let me know if you want to join the subcommittee. We are doing our first organizational meeting on Low Tide Ride and Stride here at the Yacht Club. They're very gracious. They let us use the back patio on a Monday for no charge. So that'll be on Monday, April 15th at 5 o'clock, and we'll make sure this gets in the co-rotator. We had a great group of volunteers last year. But a lot of people have been working on this event for a very long time. This is our 27th anniversary, so we'd like to get some new members involved to help back up and learn what the long-term excellent volunteers have been doing. Last year we had a wonderful race, raised over $140,000 in net profit for our wonderful charities, and we'd like to do that again this year. And let me see if I have any other notes here. The last one is past President Luann recommended it's mandatory that we all wear our low tide ride and stride shirts to every Rotary meeting for the rest of the year. But seriously, if you're out and about in this beautiful weather, walking on the beach, going to meetings, please consider wearing your low tide ride and stride shirt. Urging people to sign up. Last comment, I wanted to let everybody know it is up and running. We've been doing a lot of work. The website is up, lowtideride.com. We already have about 80 entrants signed up, and that happened just over the last 3 weeks, so we're really excited. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, Debbie Syverson now has a really special presentation that I've really been excited about. So excited I almost blew it.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven. President Bob, fellow Rotarians and guests, thank you so much. I would like for Tom Mitchell, Ivan Dunn, Bob Syverson, and Doug Weisbach to please come forward, standing right in front of the, there you go. Tom. The gentleman on stage with me right now, this is your flags on the Avenue Steering Committee. Since 1995, with the creation of Flags on the Avenue by past President and District Governor Bob Watson, Coronado Rotarians have put up 180 flags and taken down 180 flags on the federal holidays and on special occasions. By the way, that's about 12 times a year, as many of you who do the flags truly understand. This is one of the longest running Rotary activities, some 30 years. This was conceptualized by Bob Watson and sustained by Doug Weisbarth and Bill Guise. Bill, would you join us up here on stage? I know you're here. Doug and Bill have spent countless hours organizing, refining, and simply making Flags on the Avenue a reality. Doug purchased the flag trailer and brings it to every holiday. Bill spearheaded the flag holes, a very memorable evolution that is for another time, another story that we will discuss. In recognition of their dedication and commitment to service above self, Congressman Scott Peters has provided us with 2 flags that were flown over the United States Capitol in their honor. The steering committee has the honor of presenting these flags with a commemorative certificate to both Doug and to Bill. Would you please present the flags? Bob, would you please read the commemorative?
You hold this one up. I'll see it, then I'll read the other one because they're the same, only the names are different. That's what we do. The flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol at the request of the Honorable Scott H. Peters, Member of Congress. This flag was flown for, and mine says Bill Guise, and this one says Doug Weisbarth.
No, here out. Oh, wait, you got Doug.
No, that's Doug's. Who's on first?
One job.
One job.
We keep them organized all the time.
So we get a picture of these 2 with their plaques later on. Okay. Thank you.
Rotarians, please join us in thanking Bill and Doug for their commitment to service above self. Bill, excuse me, as usual, Dougie
is in charge.
would like for me to announce that yes, he purchased the trailer, but this one put it together.
Well, congratulations, Bill and Doug, and now that she's stepped away from the podium, I want to tell you a little quick story about Debbie Syverson. She approached me on this plan 3 months ago, and from a cocktail napkin. And I said, well, I don't know if you're going to go see, you're going to get somebody to fly these flags over the Capitol and petition them and do all that. And she goes, that's what I'm going to do. I go, all right, you got it, Debbie. And she, you know, what a remarkable Rotarian she is to put this whole thing together. Okay, we are now going to have Georgia Ferrell do a Rotary Minute, followed by a really cool Who Am I?
It better be cool now that you've set me up.
Yes.
All right. Hello, everybody. I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm sure the word got out that this is my last time wearing the red badge, and you're all very grateful that my name will not have to be repeated every time I show up. All right, slide number 1. So I'm going to do a little new take on polio. So many of you are amazing supporters of the polio fight. West Africa is now certified wild polio free. and thanks to Rotary. So next slide. So I was in the Peace Corps in West Africa, and my job as a public health official there, I was doing public health, was vaccinations. So this is just a few slides about Peace Corps, me in West Africa. I was in Senegal and the Ivory Coast. So this is not me, because I don't have a photo of me, but this is exactly what it looked like. Me on the back of a little moped with my healthcare worker that was he was a local nurse, a man. And I would get on there, and you can see this is UNICEF, this is part of what Rotary is funding. These are coolers that have all the vaccinations on them. And what I want to share with you is that your donations not only support polio, but it goes so much further than that. Because these are the roads in West Africa, because it is a rainforest, to get out to the little villages. So if those people are going to get health care of any sort, how fantastic that the health care comes to them. So we would go get really red muddy and go out to the little villages and do the vaccinations, but also find out how are the kids doing. They would do first aid, they would do vaccinations for adults, they would talk about malaria prevention, they would talk about a ton of different things. This is what you're doing in addition to supporting polio. So I just thought for my Rotary Minute, I would give you just a different view of what your support and the impact that you all are having in the world. So that's my Rotary Minute. Oh, and what is that really benefiting is all these fabulous kids. So how fun is that, right? Okay, so I was told this morning that if I talked too long, they were gonna pull me off. And then I got here and he said, okay, if our speaker is late, I need you to keep talking. So I'm just gonna keep cueing in of what I'm supposed to do here. So, Georgia, Yoria in Greek. So I was named after my Greek Yaya, my great grandmother, and both of my grandparents came from Greece. I think it was around World War I time, and settled just outside of Chicago, which has a huge Greek town. And I find it fabulous that we had Greek food today. So go ahead to the next slide. And if you want to know, are all the Greeks crazy? Is my big fat Greek wedding real? Oh, it's real. It's real. So here's me belly dancing in what used to be Zorba's that closed down in Chula Vista. So if the speaker doesn't get here after 3 minutes,
He's here.
Oh, he's here. He saved you because I was going to invite you all up here to teach you how to belly dance. So you can thank our speaker that you're all not going to learn how to belly dance. But if you want to learn another time, let me know. All right. So my dad used to say, there are two types of people in the world: those who are Greek, and those who want to be. So just to make sure there were enough Greeks in the world, they had 8 children. So I'm not in this picture if you count, because I was in my mom's belly. This is our recreation of me in my mom's belly years later. Go ahead. So my dad was in World War II. He was born in 1919. My mom was born in 1925. And she was from Australia and was a World War II bride. Came over on the boat, pregnant with one child and another child in her arms. Long boat ride. Am I supposed to talk faster now? I'm good. So my dad, Greek, the oldest of the Greeks, not supposed to get married until he marries off all of his younger sisters. Marries first, marries a non-Greek, brings her back to Chicago. So you can imagine my mom in the Greek world. Whew, a lot of patience. All right, next slide. So, Greek town, that's where I spent the first part of my life, just outside in Gary, Indiana, if you want to know exactly, just on the edges there. Spent a lot of time in Chicago, and moved to Coronado. So I was 8th grade when I moved to Coronado, and if I was trying to think of what am I going to talk about, what's my one claim to fame? Next slide. 18 years I had the record for the hurdles. Yeah, high school. So, I still wonder if they clocked that correctly, but in any case, I had it for 18 years, and I'm just going to enjoy that. That's a picture from our yearbook. Next slide. So for me, who am I is about how do we connect to one another. So this is my opportunity to see who am I going to connect with here. So, any beach volleyball players? Ever played beach volleyball? Raise your hands nice and high. Look at all the beach volleyball players. I love that. Skiers? Lots of skiers, right? Backpacking? Yes. Camping? All right. Has anybody else climbed to the top of Half Dome in Yosemite? Yes! Boy, I will never forget that hike. Whew. Next slide. I have 2 kids. Anthony's at Cal Poly right now. My daughter Eliana is a junior at high school, and we are leaving tomorrow to do our college tours to figure out where she's going to go. River rafting, trees. I am a tree freak. I will take it. So much so that my next slide, if I could just be under this tree, this was in Kentucky. This is my favorite picture ever. Like, I just fall in trees. That's my thing. And if you add one more, waterfalls. Fall, waterfalls, rivers, lakes. There you go. I think there's one more. And food. I love food. I've been a caterer. I've been a personal chef. I just love cooking, and I love cooking for family and for my kids. All know how to cook Greek food. This is spanakopita, and they learn that very quickly because we have it at every spanakopita and the flaming saganaki are at every holiday, every birthday. That's who I am. Most of you know me from Safe Harbor, Coronado. I worked there for 10 years, and after 10 years, finally decided it was time to go. I am currently in negotiations, interviewing for a couple of positions, so I'll let you know how that goes. And thank you for having me. And now that you not only me, but you know who else likes to ski and hike and all of those things, so let's get to know each other better.
Oh, don't go away, Georgia. We have where is Ron already?
Take this thing off, Ron.
He's working his way up. Okay, this is a ceremonial thing after this arduous pledgeship as a Red Badger, and that was a wonderful. Who am I? Thank you, Georgia. And we're gonna convert you here.
Just so you know, when I first started, I said, let's do this. And everybody said, slow down, you got plenty of time. I'm at the top of the list. I've been doing red badging for too long.
Okay, Ron, would you do the honors? Congratulations. Well done. Thanks, you guys. Do you have a red sticker on your badge?
Okay, I'm all good.
You look just like my badge. Okay. All right. Well, ordinarily, when you invite a guest speaker, especially one that you have some history with, you wind up introducing that person. But Vice Admiral Dan Cheever is such an interesting and outstanding naval aviator. We decided maybe we'd let another former Air Pac do the introduction. So it's my pleasure to have Vice Admiral Brent Bennett, a former Air Forces Air Pac, do this introduction.
Tom is kibitzing in the back corner here. So. How are we in the back? Can we hear him? Oh, great. Okay. Well, President Bob, Rotarians, guests, our speaker today, as President Bob has already mentioned, is Vice Admiral Dan Cheever. He's Commander Naval Air Forces Pacific Fleet, ComNav Air Pac in Navy speak, and Commander Naval Air Forces, CNAF for short. Yes, he wears 2 hats. More about that later. With just 2 months in the assignment, we're very grateful that he's taken time out to come and chat with us here at Coronado Rotary. Now, most of you know that naval aviators, well, we have call signs. We use it while we're flying, sometimes. But truth be known, our call signs are often substituted for our given names over the span of a career. Well, Vice Admiral Cheever's call sign is UNDRA. If you haven't figured that out already, trust me, he is no underachiever. Vice Admiral Cheever has his headquarters here in Coronado at North Island. And from there he leads our vast naval aviation community shouldering global responsibility and accountability for manning, equipping, and training all elements of naval aviation, and for defining and prioritizing naval aviation requirements well into the future. Now, while we'll certainly touch a significant portion of naval aviation here in Coronado, we sometimes forget about the sheer size and scope of what is, after all, the world's second largest air force. And arguably, at least in my mind, I'm just a little bit parochial, arguably in my mind, the most complex air force on the planet. Let's do a little numbers game for a minute. 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers with 3 more in various phases of construction. Over 3,800 aircraft, fixed and rotary wing, manned and unmanned transports, 5th-generation strike fighters. Over 100,000 professional men and women worldwide. Oh, and budgets in the tens of billions annually. Tens of Bs. Your Naval Air Force is deployed around the world and executing missions driven by world events every minute of every day, 24/7, 365. It's a force in constant motion, often in harm's way. Vice Admiral Cheever leads the Naval Aviation team. Andrew and I first crossed paths when we were both assigned to our forward deployed naval forces in Japan. He was the fresh-caught strike fighter pilot on his first squadron tour, and me, well, I was just bumming as many flight hours as I could find from the air wing in my battle group. We shared a unique experience. That experience had us completing field carrier landing practice, flying around Mount Suribachi on the hallowed island of Iwo Jima. That was an unforgettable experience for both of us. Admiral Cheever's career has him superbly prepared to take the stick and throttle of naval aviation. Squadron and Air Wing Command, Top Gun instructor, department head in command of the Naval Air Warfighting Development Center, Carrier Strike Group Command, aide to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Chief of Staff for the North American Aerospace Defense Command and the U.S. Northern Command. Over 5,000 flight hours and 1,100 carrier-arrested landings, we call them traps. And he now leads America's Naval Air Forces. Please join me in welcoming Admiral Dan Cheever.
Thanks to everybody. I'm from Chicago and I went to Greece, so. Thank you all for what you do. Truly, you are so important to the community. You are the leaders of the community, and I really appreciate everything you do for all of us. So thank you. I'll break this up into a few segments. I'll talk about a little bit about myself, background, a little bit about why Coronado's so amazing, a little bit about naval aviation and what we're doing with our carriers and that kind of stuff, and a little bit about the CMV-22s that you're going to see flying here a little more and more here soon. It's a little intimidating because these gentlemen to my left all taught me. And they are really, really good. We call them the giants that we stand on their shoulders because they made everything easier for us. And it is pretty easy, otherwise I couldn't do it, right? I'm a kid from Chicago, west suburbs. My mom was the mayor for 16 years, first female mayor in Chicagoland area ever. She was liquor commissioner, she was a councilwoman, she was the president of League of Women Voters for over 40 years. She was that woman. And she's the one that taught me everything. Leadership, you name it. It was amazing. I grew up and we would go into these meetings and she'd go, "You want to go?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how this goes." So we'd go to her council meeting, and the night before she'd get a packet about that big, and she would sit there after Wheel of Fortune, and after Jeopardy, and she would read her entire packet dutifully and know every issue and everything that was going on. And then she would come into that meeting and she'd go, "Okay, here's what's going to happen. He didn't read anything. He's going to say something he doesn't know anything about. That guy's got an agenda. That guy's just going to come in and shake everybody's hand. This is going to happen. This is going to," and she called it perfect every time. It was amazing. It was like a coach that calls the game before it even starts. Very amazing. My dad worked at the Argonne National Laboratory, big into the Russian magnet thing and occupational health and safety in that kind of field. He and my daughter just had a big argument because she's an Alabama grad, public health masters, summa cum laude, all that, which my boys had to look up, and I said, don't worry, you don't need to know that language. You get that one. And so growing up, he was my hard work educator, but they had an argument about which public health masters was better, Harvard or Alabama. My daughter just giggled and said, well, I guess back then when you went through it was probably Harvard, but it's Alabama by far. She's a tough kid. So that takes me to my kids. I met my wife in Japan. She's a nice gal from Dallas. And when I met her, I thought if she gets back to the States, I've got no chance. So in 3 weeks, I bought her a ring and proposed to her in Sydney, and then got her back here and locked down the marriage kind of thing. And if you met her, you know that that's a true story. Later on, we were at Top Gun, we had triplets. So 2 boys and a girl. The joke there is, how do you raise triplets? You go on 3 deployments. You come back, they are trained, they're out of diapers, they're really smart kids, and they're disciplined. My wife hates that joke because it's very true. So anyway, moving forward to why Coronado's so special. In 1999, I'm up in Lemoore, where I met Rooter the first time. He was an instructor up there teaching us how to fly. But I'm up there and I said, hey, can you baptize the triplets? And they're like, yeah, we don't have anybody that can do that right now up there. So I just called the North Island because Julie's family's from Arizona and from LA. And I thought, well, that's a cool place. If we could do it there, the chaplain on the base here said, yeah, come on down. We can get it done during the service. We'll just bring the kids up and do it. So we're doing it, and I'm looking in the back of the room, and I'm like, I recognize that guy from somewhere. I know that guy from somewhere. And after the service, he comes up and I go, oh my God, you're Vice Admiral Stockdale. And so he came up, said what a nice family we had, and I was like, wow. It was see, I'm getting emotional. Great moment in my life. Fast forward, and what was it, 3 months ago? And took grandbaby into the chapel, and they baptized the grandbaby. So kind of cool. My son served in the Navy, sailor. He lives in my house with the grandbaby, so my wife is very happy right now. Doesn't care how much I travel anymore. I don't know what happened. I'm no longer up here. Down here. Got the grandbaby in the house. He's doing college on the GI Bill, which is a huge benefit for all of us. Anything you could do to help us recruit people and tell that story, it's worth about $275,000 to him. He gets about $4,000 a month in housing allowance. He's living in my house. Anybody want to have a guess of how much I see of that money? 0.0. But I made a deal with him. I said, you get straight A's, you keep it all. B, 1,000. C, 2,000. D, guess what grades he's getting so far? 5 classes, straight A's. I should have tried that in high school for him. Okay, the other kid's first lieutenant in Marine Corps in Yuma, and just got back from Honduras after his first pump, is what they call it in the Marine Corps. So my uncle was Marine Corps, Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Tinian, Saipan, and a few of the other campaigns out there, and became the Special Operations Director for the CIA for 12 years. And he's the one that told me, I had like 3 conversations, I'm going to join the military. He's like, Navy. I said, okay. I'm going to do something. He goes, fly. I said, okay. Later on in my career, I said, hey, I'm thinking about Top Gun or Blue Angels. He said, Top Gun. I said, and all you said to my Uncle Wayne was, yes, sir. And that was the end of the conversation. Anyway, so that's that. Coronado's really special to us. I was chief of staff out here. This is just an amazing place. The neighbors, the safety, you put it all together. You know, I went to the Christmas parade. Amazing. It's just truly that place. You know, it's special. We became real quick OTB. I don't want to go OTB. Right? I don't want to go over the bridge. I'm willing to go DTS down the Strand, as far as Imperial Beach. Anyway, so it's a special place. Our carriers are parked here, as you know. Right now, as we sit here, the Ike Carrier Strike Group is in a threat weapons envelope with missiles coming out at them, unmanned systems coming out of them. They're shooting live missiles, guns, all kinds of things. The airplanes are shooting things down, the ships are shooting things down, and they're there every single day. They've been on the line for over 120 days or so, which, normally you get a port visit every 30 to 45 days-ish. They've been 120 days. And so, for folks like us that wear this uniform, we're used to flying into a weapons envelope and fighting and doing all that kind of stuff. For some of those young kids, first time ever, right? Think of the young typist, right? They're typing away, they're doing their work, and they're thinking, I just heard the gun shoot, and the captain just came and said, hey, that missile was really close, but we shot it down. That kind of thing. That's ongoing right now. And then we have a carrier, Ronald Reagan, out in Japan. By the way. And then we have the TR, the Theodore Roosevelt, is out there right now doing presence mission, integrated deterrence, keeping China from thinking today's the day we might want to go take Taiwan or do something else very weird and against rules-based international order. Some of the things they do are just weird. I'm on a personal thing where I don't, anyway. But very strange. Carl Vinson did it before them, and I welcomed him back. If you read Jeannie's article, she didn't print one line that I said on the carrier, but she printed everything else. I swore that wasn't good. I'm not supposed to do that. I said, thanks for kicking A out there. And she didn't print that one, but that's okay. I said, welcome, to America's favorite city, America's favorite carrier, because that's what's on their little website. And then the Ronald Reagan will come back here, and the George Washington will come through here on the way to replace Ronald Reagan out in Japan. So lots going on, lots of exciting. Let me finish up and leave a little time for questions, because that's probably the most important, interesting thing that's going to happen here today. The MV-22s, CMV-22s that you see over there on the base, we shut them down for a little over 90 days. There was a good reason for that. We saw something we'd never seen before, right? The plane's flying, then the plane's not flying. It happened real quick. We weren't exactly sure what the failure mode was and that stuff, so out of preponderance of caution, you got to shut them down until you can figure out what the heck went on there. We figured it out. We redid maintenance procedures, training, all that kind of stuff like you would expect us to do. Think of like a recall on a car. You got to fix it, and then you got to get back there, and you got to really do what's right by the folks. And now they're back. They're training. They've had about 15 flights or so far, and we're going very crawl, walk, run with this thing, right? So it's crawl, just fly with the most senior pilots day only. Then we'll fly with the more and more training, and then get to the junior folks, and then get back to instructing new people, and then finally back to mission out at sea and that kind of stuff. But that's where we are. Safety is the number one. The guy who grounded them, his son flies them. So there's a lot of personal in this. I've flown in them 20 times. I'll be flying in one here soon. As soon as they get past the functional check flight, that's for the pros that really know the plane and all that kind of stuff. When they're doing currency and proficiency, I'll jump in there and get to go fly with the young kids out there. If you're wondering, the young sailors that we have are amazing. I mean, when they go on Liberty, you're a little nervous. When they leave the ship, you're like, oh, I forgot, you're 18, you're 19, you're 20. You have all those thoughts in your head leaving the ship. But boy, when they're on the ship and they're executing the mission, they are so professional. They are just, and you put your life in their hands, and they come through every time. They're really good kids. And they're not kids, they're sailors. But they're really good at what they do, and they're dedicated. They have all the same thoughts we do. Nation, Navy, the world is counting on us. So same thoughts we all have. They have a little different approaches to things, right? They didn't all get yelled at when they were in sports when they were kids. I did. I needed that. I get yelled at sometimes by our leaders. Nobody in this room, obviously. But they have a different kind of upbringing, that kind of stuff, so the approach is a little different with them, but same heart, same love of country that we all have. So it's a really good place to be. A lot smarter. My son, I play Xbox with him every once in a while. Former sailor, right? So he likes to play Xbox every once in a while. Out of frustration, he grabs the controller to set it up and goes like this. here, it's set up. Because that would take me 10 minutes. Click. But in his head, he's like, yeah, this is easy. So technology to them is sort of a easy thing. It's really just simple. Okay. With that, so Jeannie and I worked together. She was Beth's position back in the day, public affairs position when I was chief of staff. So we go way back. And this is Deuce. She is my aide. She's a really good aide, but she likes to hover around a lot. She's a helicopter pilot. And she does the Fire Scout unmanned system, so she's very savvy, tech, understands all that kind of stuff. Is an ultra marathon runner, like not the 26.2. I keep reminding her that the guy for marathon, that's when you. But she does the 40, 50, 100, whatever, that kind of stuff. So a whole different level of crazy. Okay, with that said, I'll just open it up for any questions and things you have in mind. Yes, sir.
Sir, what has the advent of the drone done to the security of the aircraft carrier?
Yeah, good question. The security of the aircraft carrier and the drones, in general, not a huge deal. In a confined area, a bigger deal, right? So the Red Sea, not very wide. 100 miles, whatever it is, 150 miles, something like that. So it's a very confined area, but that's where we have to operate in order to allow the international traffic to go through so everybody's goods and services and oil and everything can flow. So in that case, it's a little bit more susceptible and that kind of stuff. In general, when we're in the deep Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic, current day, not a big deal, but we're watching that carefully because I think as the technology grows and the ranges grow, then it will become a greater and greater threat to the Navy. And I think thoughts like direct energy and that kind of stuff and what's coming next and some of our scientists and research and developers that can do things for us, I think we'll have answers to face that threat. Thank you. Very good question.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, by the way, one good story. I was out on one of our training things at the Strike Group Admiral, and there was a drone coming out and kind of taking a look at us, and I finally said, anybody who can knock that thing down gets a coin. So you can imagine the fury to shoot that thing down. People had fire hoses out, people had shot. I mean, I didn't think that went all the way through, but I did have to fly to a ship and pass a coin to a kid.
Any relation to John Cheever?
No, but funny story real quick.
Yeah.
I show up at the Grand Floridian because the Shades of Grey was closed at Disney World. I hand my ID, and they go, "Oh, Mr. Cheever, welcome. You've been upgraded to the big suite." I was the chairman's aide, and I had the triplets with me, and I thought, I wonder if the chairman called down here and pulled some strings and stuff. So I went to the big suite, and then the manager comes down in the morning at breakfast, and he's like, "Sir, the monorail's ready for you. Your kids will drive it, and the characters will meet them at this place at this time in the park." And I'm like, this is awesome. 2 days in, the manager of the Grand Floridian comes and goes, "Excuse me, sir," after a bunch of free drinks and stuff like that. "Are you related to John Cheever?" And I'm like, "No, why?" I said, "Do you need me to move on to the suite?" And he goes, "No, nobody's taking it. Just have fun." It was good.
Has Deuce ever run the Western States 100?
No, I haven't.
Are you gonna?
At some point, hopefully, yeah.
Okay. What are you training for right now?
A 50 miler on the PCT.
50 miler is what she's training for right now. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Admiral, what's taking up the slack on the COD mission while the B-22s are down?
Great question. So what we did was we were in the process of sundowning the C2s. Sundowning just means, hey, we're going to close up shop, honor them, celebrate. So we're about on this, and right when the CMB-22s, we had to ground them, we stopped that, and we moved people back in, we kept the planes, we did more maintenance on the planes, we stopped them from going to the desert to wrap them up and all those kind of things, and it worked great. You talk about a resilient team that can rise to the occasion, because in your brain you're like, well, we're going away, we're going to stop, operate, do more. And as you know, 2024, almost the most carriers we've had out in a long time. So your most pressurized year, but they rose to the occasion. They did really well. We did have to move some people around and slow some, so I had to stop some people from transferring to where they were gonna go, which can be hard on families and stuff like that. You gotta be careful with that. But we called them all and said, hey, are you willing to stay there for 4, 6 months, 9 months? To a person, absolutely. Because the mission, right? They love the mission. So, good question, thank you. You wanna come work at AirPac? I might have you do some analysis for us.
I have a question, Admiral, but I worked there 3 years, 8 months, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, I don't want, no, I'm just kidding. It was a great tour. It's a name game. Are you kin to a Bruce Cheever? Any Bruce in your family?
I am not, and I'm not related to Eddie Cheever, the race car driver.
Okay,
either.
well, good. Well, Bruce Cheever was a Marine A4 guy, and he was my boss when I went to work at FedEx after the Navy. That's why I was asking. But
Very
you
nice.
would have liked him. So.
Very nice, I'm sure it
He's a
would.
character, yeah.
So the family came from England, Dorset, just south of Stonehenge. In about 1635, we went to Massachusetts, or what became Massachusetts, and then the family went to Michigan. So the whole family's from there, the west side of Michigan. So if you go from Muskegon up to about Ludington, Petwater, that's the whole family. And the funny thing is, great-great-great-great-grandpa Cheever led her home back to England. We found this unbelievable, fantastic place called Michigan, or what, you know, by the Great Lake of Michigan. We're gonna put everybody here. This is a great place to raise up. It's so fantastic. We just love it here. Everything's great. Great-great-great-great-grandma sends a letter home. We landed in some unforgiven place that you couldn't grow anything because it's all sandy soil. This place is gonna kill us. This is terrible. I don't know what the men are thinking. They're idiots, you know, that kind of thing. Luckily, they discovered that growing asparagus, apples, and cherries really good, and that's where all of them, you know, kind of went, and they're all in that community, if you will. And then we became the big, the family became the big fertilizer and that kind of company out there. It worked. I'm not sure what went on with the great-great-great-great-grandma and grandpa discussions, but I can imagine. Yes, sir.
Admiral, a Michigander. You talked about the strong sense of purpose of the crews that are operating now, how committed they are to the mission, which sounds like the sort of thing that really motivates people to do what you are doing. And yet, we're having trouble recruiting and retaining. What's the disconnect? What does it take to get people who are not yet there the sense of mission and purpose that you're inculcating in your operators?
Thank you. I'm so glad you asked that question. I have a theory or hypothesis. I think the way we treat our sailors, if we treat them right, the recruiting problems will solve themselves, because all the young folks that join, they're still talking to their high school buds, right? And they're telling them yes or no, right? They're giving them that signal backwards. So one of my lines of effort is treatment of our sailors and civilians, because I think that's part of it. I do wish that the rhetoric within the nation would go down, and trying to politicize military service would go down, and not try to say that person's woke or that person's, you know, just take, if we take that down a notch, I think we'd be really well off.
Admiral, on behalf of the greatest Rotary Club in the world, universe, excuse me, addressing a member of the greatest armed forces in the world. I have a question for you that I don't really want to answer. I just want you to think about this. We'd like to know how we can be of service to you all over there in the next year. So give it some thought to your aides. Let us know. There are plenty of us you can reach out to, but the military is really important to almost everybody in this room. Many of us grew up in the military, many of us served, many of us were married into it. And we'd like to be of service to you in some way. So think about that, because we've got a great organization here that's ready to serve you.
Thank you very much. They know I can't stop from answering things. One of the things right off the bat is it's become too much of a family business only, and the folks who serve, their offspring serve. My son served. My daughter's trying to get in the Air Force Academy to help them with mental health. She's a dietitian, nutritionist, public health master's. So that that means a lot of the nation doesn't have a touch point where they understand the military and that kind of stuff. So reaching out to people who don't have a touch point or don't have a contact with a military person and connecting them, that's probably the biggest thing to connect us. There was another, how are we doing? About 5 minutes. Admiral Zortman, anything? So Admiral Zortman is still 100% in this thing. We talked to him, I think Chubbs, me, I don't know how many other people you are assisting and helping. But it's an all the time thing because, you know, he's kind of the guy that got it right from the start. And then we slid a little bit and we're back on the rise of how do you spend the taxpayers' money really wisely, get everything you want, everything you need out of it for the nation, and then have fully capable capability and capacity and trained sailors that can go out and fight and do this thing. He had it right. That's why he mentors all of us and where we're heading. So I really appreciate his sage advice. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Boss, I have, are there any other questions? There's one. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Wanted to find out on those 3 aircraft carriers that are being built, when are they due in, and are there any aircraft carriers that are going away?
Yes and yes. So the 3 carriers, it's the John F. Kennedy should deliver in a few years. Then you have the Enterprise that delivers about 6-7 years after that, and then right after that will be the Dory Miller. So what they've done is they bundle by carriers. So 2 of them will be very close in delivery time frame, and then you got a little break, and then 2 more, and 2 more. And then in the budget, we're working to get 2 more bundled by. And then yes, every about 4 to 5 years, a carrier will head off. We did something very unique. We thought it was a 50-year life of a carrier, and right now we've extended Nimitz way past the 50-year life, and we're going to get an extra deployment or 2 out of that carrier. And so that was due to sunset, but we're not sunsetting it yet. And so a lot of unique things we're doing to make sure that the nation has the 11 aircraft carriers they need, the 9 air wings that they need in order to, for our CNO, preserve the peace, respond in crisis, and win decisively in combat. Those are her things. And this is how smart I am. Not really. But I've aligned myself 100% with the CNO and her goals. That's Chief of Naval Operations. Her goals are my goals. Her priorities are my priorities. Then I have a few things that I'm working inside those that's within Naval Aviation's mind to fix. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mayor Boss, I think I have the final question, and that
Yes,
is, what is your favorite color? And before you answer, I'm going to give you a hint as I stand behind my friend Doug St. Dennis, who is wearing her favorite color because of her allegiance with the particular squadron.
Right, so my favorite color is orange. And the Argonauts was black and orange. I ride a Harley with orange stripes on it. I like orange there. So yeah, so that's my favorite color is orange.
That's very good. And do you still retain the 40th anniversary Argonaut coin that I think you bestowed back in 2007?
I do.
You have it on you now, sir?
I do not. Does that mean I'm buying it?
Yeah,
So if you don't have your coin on you, you generally buy.
Almost certainly would be carrying that at all times.
You would. So thank you all very much. God bless you for what you do for this community in particular, and for how you welcome our military members and their families into everything you do. Thank you very much.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for squeezing us into your schedule. Having worked on that staff myself for a whopping 1 year, I know it's packed and there's not a lot of time. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
I have a small token, and this is what we call it's not as good as the Argonaut coin, but it does have our 4-way test on it. And thanks. Come back and see us again. And
thank you, everybody.
We'll feed you lunch next time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the Rotary Club of Coronado, I am going to adjourn this meeting, and I'm going to invite you to join us next week when we're back here at the Coronado Yacht Club
to hear about Support the Enlisted Project from Tony Tony. And with that, have a great Rotary week, service above self.